Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast. My name is Jesse. No ads today, so we're going to jump right into the episode. The Orioles, I am slightly delayed here. I would have wanted to have got this done last night. But the Orioles have split a rain shortened two-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays. Rather frustrating how it ended. So they started off game one. That's the one that got rained out. The makeup day is going to be on July 29th. So that was game one. The Orioles lost game two, I'm sorry, the Orioles won game two, 5-4. Um, Sugano pitched 4 2/3, gave up 3 runs. Brian Baker ended up getting the win in the game. And the Orioles offense did a little bit. This was actually a nice game for the Orioles. They had initially been down 3-0. And then the Orioles scored two in the fifth and three in the sixth, and ended up winning ultimately 5-4. Felix Bautista got a save, which was good to see. He did issue a couple walks, so he didn't look completely like himself. We're still waiting for him to fully return to form. But overall, it was a nice game for the Orioles. The bullpen, as usual, did a really solid job. Aiken, Baker, Cano, Soto to Bautista. Brian Baker was the only one who gave up a run out of those guys mentioned. Um, so just a really nice game all around for the Orioles. As I had said, it was nice to see the Orioles come back from a 3-0 deficit from behind. The one cool thing about this game was Anthony Santander hit his first home run for the Toronto Blue Jays. Really, really solid home run. It didn't squeak out of Camden Yards. Squeak is a weird way to say that, but it didn't barely get over the fence. It was a home run, and it was a solid one. So that was nice to see from him. But ultimately, the Orioles did win 5-4, a one-run game, so it was competitive. We did not blow the Blue Jays out of the water in this one. Both of the games were one-run games for the O's in this series against the Blue Jays. Yeah, and just a good game overall. Heston Kjerstad hit a home run. Adley Rutschman hit a home run in the game. And every run, of course, in the 5-4 win was critical for the Orioles offensively. Cedric Mullins continued his good I guess, continued his good offensive performance that we've seen so far. Right now, he is among sort of the heart and soul of the Orioles offense right now. Um, Maybe that's a little much to say, but overall, he is really been the best hitter for the Orioles so far. And he really has sort of, even though the Orioles offense has not been good overall, he has been a bright spot within that lineup. And he is allowing the Orioles some offensive production, even in the midst of Gunnar Henderson initially starting the season on the IL, and since returning, not really doing very well. Jackson Holiday is not hitting very well. And there are a few guys in the order that have been struggling a little bit. There are some guys that are hitting pretty well overall. Overall, offensively, I think this Orioles team, well, hopefully it has not reached its peak. It has not gotten to its midseason form. Um, Sort of collectively as a unit, even though there are some bright spots and some guys hitting pretty well within the order. But overall, the Orioles had a nice game one win against the Blue Jays. The Orioles were able to withstand some positive offensive performances On the Blue Jays side, the normal sort of cast of characters for the Blue Jays turned in solid offensive performances. Bo Bichette, who, once again has given the Orioles problems in the series. I feel like Bo Bichette just gives the Orioles all sorts of problems. He had a really nice game, went 3 for 5, and Guerrero went 2 for 4. Santander, as I mentioned, hit the home run. Yeah, the Orioles were able to sort of overcome a couple good offensive performances from the Blue Jays' perspective. And even though Sugano didn't make it through 5 innings, um, I guess, a positive charitable interpretation was that he kept the Orioles in the game and allowed the bullpen to sort of come rescue and stabilize the game. And the Orioles did end up winning, which was nice to see. The Orioles were just coming home from a bit of a road trip. So, from that perspective, coming home after being away for a while and getting a win is always desirable. The second game, even though the first one was a big positive for the Orioles, the second one was probably even exaggerated in the opposite direction. It was probably very frustrating in general. The Orioles, going into the eighth inning, had a 6-3 lead and were not able to shut it down. So yeah, basically, it was sort of the same sort of story. Povich mimicked. Well, he didn't exactly mimic, but in terms of innings, he exactly mirrored the start from Sugano. He pitched 4 2/3, got pulled in the fifth, and he gave up 2 runs, both earned. He, potentially got a little lucky. He got in and out of trouble a good amount. There was a lot of traffic on the bases throughout his performance. He did pitch 4 2/3. I'm sorry, he did give up. He pitched 4 2/3 and gave up 7 hits, in addition to a walk. So if you're looking at the whip on that, I'm not doing the exact math, but it is not a good whip. The Orioles bullpen sort of had to do the thing again and sort of come in and rescue a starter who did not put up what you would hope a starter would put up in terms of innings pitched. And the Orioles bullpen once again did a good job until uh, the uh, the Orioles got to Gregory Soto, who sort of had, I think, probably calling it an implosion is a little bit of a stretch, but he was ineffective overall, despite getting the hold. He only pitched 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 runs, all of them earned, 3 hits. And I mean, he came out of the game, and the Orioles did have a lead. Cano came in. The Orioles had a 1 run lead. Cano came into the game to try to get the save and try to attempt a 4 out save. He ended up not being able to do that. He allowed the runner with 2 outs that was on base that Soto left behind to score on a single. I believe it was a single. And Soto, even though he wasn't effective, it wasn't like he single-handedly blew the Orioles' lead. Even though he didn't make it easy for Cano, it still was in reach for the Orioles to shut it down, and we weren't able to do that. One of the things Brandon Hyde commented on after the game is that Felix Bautista, having gotten the save the day before, just is not fully healthy, and is not able to pitch multiple days in a row at this point in his recovery process. He's not able to go multiple innings as we've seen him do in the past. I guess he was, I don't know if he was completely unavailable. It seems like he was unavailable because he didn't come in to pitch the ninth. even after, although maybe they were just trying to, yeah, well, he also didn't come in to pitch to the top of the 10th either, which you would think potentially he would have. Even though maybe Brandon Hyde feels a little bit of a question mark about his health, and maybe he feels like maybe at this point, especially with him having pitched yesterday, he wasn't the best option in that situation. But overall, the fact that Bautista didn't get used is at all in the game is a reflection of his health status and of him, sort of the Orioles trying to ease him back into performance. And for anybody who has been watching Felix Bautista before, it is not the same Felix Bautista that we all know and love. So it definitely makes sense that the Orioles are trying to figure things out a little bit in order to make his long-term return or his long-term effectiveness throughout the year um, as good as it can be. Given he's it's been a long time since he's pitched. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The Orioles are not going to try to overdo it just to get, even if it did produce the Orioles a win in this situation, it's definitely not worth jeopardizing his long-term health and well-being. One, because he's a person, but also two, just from a strategic Orioles perspective. It also doesn't make sense. So, overall, though, the bullpen did do a good job. It was just really Soto that really struggled in this game. He'd been pretty good prior to this, so I mean, it's going to happen. And especially with Soto, I mean, Soto. Even though he has great stuff, he used to be a closer. I mean, he is a guy that is capable of imploding completely. So this level of uh this performance wasn't him even imploding on a Gregory Soto scale, or even I would say a most pitcher scale. He just didn't do as well as he normally does, and yeah, the Blue Jays were able to score some runs, tie the game, and then end up winning it in extras. So yeah, Matt Bowman did end up taking the loss in the game. He did end up allowing the inherited runner to score on second. I will say I do have a little bit of a personal grievance with pitchers in the 10th inning, allowing an inherited runner to score and then ending up taking a loss in that situation. I mean, I know it's sort of like, well, if you're going to do the runner on second, what else do you do other than give somebody a win and a loss? Because there has to be a winning and a losing pitcher in Major League Baseball games. At the same time, though, it does feel like a massive injustice. Granted, there are other injustices that happen within baseball in terms of scoring and records and statistics. There are injustices that happen. Um, for instance, a pitcher on a pop up, perhaps if none of the infielders catch the ball and they just let it drop, that is going to go as a hit in the scorebook, unless it's marked as an error. If a guy makes like a last minute attempt and drops the ball or something, but normally if the ball just drops, that's going to go down as a hit. They're bloop hits and hard hit balls that get caught. So, not saying that statistics are always just. And if we're taking it even further than those examples, uh, guys throw no hitters and take losses in 1-0 games, and they got the loss because I don't know, their shortstop made a throwing error that turned a routine out into a double or a triple, and then they ended up scoring, and that was all the scoring for the game. So the no hitting pitcher gets the loss. So that kind of thing does happen. Probably a lot more egregious of a scenario than Matt Bowman in this situation taking a loss. But in general, I still don't really like it because, I mean, if your team offensively can't score a run with a leadoff guy on second, and allowing just the one run to score in extra innings is not a bad pitching performance. I mean, they could just score on an error and then the pitcher gets the loss and then that's it. So in any case, just sort of a side grievance that I have a little bit with some of the statistics in baseball. Another random one that I really don't like as well is like this is going a little sideways here, but just another random one that I really don't like is, let's say there is a somebody reaches first base on an error, um, and then the next hitter comes up and hits a ground ball to shortstop, and they get the force out at second, but the runner at first is safe. Even though that gets marked as a fielder's choice, I feel like that runner on first base, because of the fielder's choice in that situation, that should be an unearned run over there at first base. Because if the error hadn't happened, that runner would have been out, and the only reason they were not out was because of the fielder's choice due to an error. So just as this is just my stream of consciousness talking here. But in a situation like that, I think that if that run or that runner on first base scores, that should be charged as an unearned run, because they would have been out had a fielder's choice not been elected to get the runner out who was uh, a runner that should not have been on base at all, if not for the error. So anyway, that's just there are other ones I have sort of like this too, but yeah, sort of getting back to the point here. So yeah, just I don't like that Matt Bowman in that type of situation has to take a loss. I know there's a lot made. Wins, losses don't matter as a statistic anymore in Major League Baseball. That's basically true. I don't think there are many people or pitchers or players that are getting paid based upon their win loss record, or not paid based on their win loss record. But overall, yeah, I don't like it and it's not right. So, after the Blue Jays tied the game in the eighth inning, they went on to win it in the 10th. The Orioles were unsuccessful in being able to score the run at second. The It's not even a ghost runner. The leadoff runner that is placed on second base. I don't like when they call it a ghost runner because they're a real runner. They're not a ghost, and they were just placed there on second. So the Orioles were unable to do that, ended up falling 7-6. Uh Blue Jays got 16 hits in this game. So that's not good. Povich, as I had said, gave up seven. Soto gave up a few. Cano, Bowman, and Aiken as well gave up a few. So not a great pitching performance for the Orioles, even though the bullpen, as I said, was pretty effective prior to getting to Gregory Soto. Um, yeah. So what are sort of, what are we and this, I mean, the Orioles do have an off day today, or did have an off day today, as we're approaching the final, we're in the final minutes here of Monday. So the Orioles did have an off day, so hopefully they can sort of put this game behind them and just keep it moving. But with that said, it is really unfortunate that the Orioles were not able to hold on and win this game. The Orioles drop to 6-9, which is an ugly record. It's not the end of the world, but it's ugly. It's not 7-8. Um, so, um, yeah, three more losses than wins. This is also a division rival with the Blue Jays. It sort of would have been really nice for the Orioles to have gotten their footing, got a rain shortened two-game sweep against the Blue Jays. That would have been a really nice feeling heading into the Guardians that the Orioles have coming up. But the Orioles weren't able to do that. Really, sort of gave away this game that the Orioles really should win. 95% of the time and up. When you're leading by three heading into the eighth, that's a game normally you should win as you get to the back end of that bullpen. Um, so when we're looking at it though, I mean, there are themes that become really apparent. So obviously, I talked about how Felix played a bit of a role. I mean, the other thing that is just really, really apparent with the Orioles, and this is something I've been talking about since before opening day, but the starting pitching is sort of becoming a problem for the Orioles. And nobody other than Zach Eflin, basically, who now went to the IL, has been able to give us even 5 innings of starting pitching. And I mean, Dean Kramer is the one where you really sort of expect that from at this point. Eli did an extensive discussion about Kramer and what his issues are right now. But Povich, Sagano, there's of course probably a bit of a curve, a learning curve for him coming into Major League Baseball. So potentially you give him a little bit of I mean, you give them a little bit of a pass. I mean, you can give all these guys a bit of a pass. Povich, you can definitely give a pass because he's so young and he's still trying to figure things out at the major league level, and we're in the first month of the season, so it's not about like to what extent. At least in my mind, with how I'm thinking about it, it's not about to what extent we're going to be harsh and negative and critical on each of the starting pitchers for their, lack of ability to pitch a decent number of innings. And of course, even other guys, Charlie Morton. I mean, this guy is, I think 41 years old, right? So how much are you really hoping to get out of someone like him, despite how illustrious his career has been, right? But in terms of the actual effect that it's having on this team, it's really, really a problem. And I mean, even if we look at these two games that the Orioles had, um, like there were in this, just even in this game alone, or even in these two games alone, this 2 game set, you can see a lot of there were parallels, very much in not parallels, but there were replicas of who pitched for the Orioles in these games. So Aiken pitched in both of the games. Brian Baker pitched in both of the games. Yennier Cano pitched in both of the games and Gregory Soto pitched in both of the games. So I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. But at least in the first game, the first 4 Orioles that came out of the Orioles pen also pitched in the second game. Now, I think that this is really, really significant for the Orioles. And I do think it is actually a more urgent problem to sort of address for the Orioles because I'm already imagining this being, and we talked about how bad this starting pitching was heading into the season. I'm already imagining when we are heading down the stretch and we are trying to get to the playoffs, or we're either trying to get to the playoffs or we are actually in the playoffs trying to win a World Series. I mean, I know right now, like competing for a World Series feels so far away. And I mean, obviously, we know that it's a really long season. We know that it's really, really early, right? But this does not feel like the making of a team that will win a World Series. It feels like a team that will potentially compete for a playoff spot, and then maybe, if we are lucky, win a round or two in the playoffs. But if you imagine us, whatever it is, 4 months down the road, right? And we have a bullpen of guys whose arms are falling off, right? That could be a really, really significant problem for the Orioles, especially because it looks like this bullpen is going to be pitching a large number of the innings, especially until we fix our rotation, right? Um, until certain guys come back from injury, until the Orioles make some trades at the deadline. Um, the starting pitching being how it is, and I don't think that this starting pitching is going to improve anytime soon in any significant way. We might make a couple changes here or there. Sagano might start pitching better. Kramer might return to form. But ultimately, we're still going to be having guys in that rotation that end up that give us a 4 inning outing, right, on occasion. If Charlie Morton and Povich are in this rotation, they're going to have outings where they don't make it out of the fourth, right, or the fourth, the fifth, etc. And if the Oriole pitchers are um, taking a large percentage of the innings up front in the regular season, that is going to have really big ramifications for the Orioles down the line when we get to the end of the season. And this is going to be a problem. So even if the starting pitching does get it together in the second half, or the Orioles do whatever they got to do to bolster the starting pitching, or they make a move or whatever, guys get back from injury, a lot of the damage might already be done because of their workload in the first half of the season. The other thing about this bullpen is that there are a lot of guys in this bullpen that are more or less permanent fixtures, right? So, barring injury, unless these guys get injured and they get shelved for a while, these guys are going to be in the bullpen all year. They're going to be in the bullpen during the playoffs with us. Gregory Soto, uh, CNL Perez, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yenier Cano, Felix Bautista, potentially Keegan Aiken. I mean, Keegan Aiken, I mean, we've talked about him. Uh, I mean, he is like a more effective pitcher in Major League Baseball and reliever in Major League Baseball. I mean, I think there is some volatility with him, right? It's possible he's not a permanent fixture like Sir Anthony Dominguez is a permanent fixture in the bullpen, but I think there is a good chance Keegan Aiken is with the Orioles the rest of the season and into the playoffs, right? That's very possible. The fact that, and then we get into the Matt Bowmans and the Connor Selby's, right, and the Brian Baker, right, and there it's a little, these are guys, it's a little different, right. They might get sent down, traded, etc. They are not stable. But as far as those first names I mentioned, they are going to be more or less with us throughout this entire season, and their workload, they are going to be stretched, I believe, and they are going to be used a lot. And it's not like we're trading Dominguez at the deadline and getting a different reliever with a lighter workload back. No, all those guys are going to be with us throughout the course of the season. So I know that Hyde probably feels like he has a little more flexibility right now. With it being so early, to throw guys, to give starting pitchers shorter leashes when needed, etc. I'm sure there are plenty of times he throws guys because he wants to get them some work, right? Even though it probably doesn't feel like that right now because I mean, the Orioles don't need an opportunity to give a guy some work because all our starting pitchers are going 8 innings. No, all our bullpen guys are needed seemingly every day, and it feels like every day. So, but in any case, just point being that, you know, their workloads are not going to just evaporate into midair if we then like as it would if we were to trade them at the deadline or something. So all these guys are gonna be with us, and if we are over relying on them now, we are compromising their effectiveness in the future going forward. And that could be a really significant problem. And I think that's a big reason why the Orioles are really living on the edge a little bit in terms of their long term um, potential, the long term potential of this team in October, if the Orioles don't do something to address the starting pitching. And at this point, they're not going to. It's too late for that in terms of like making a move. The Orioles, will tinker around the edges. We'll have Kyle Gibson, etc. Yeah, but overall, I don't think they're going to be real significant changes to this rotation. The best we can hope for is guys like Sugano and Kramer. And, when we get Eflin back, Eflin does his thing. But, those guys sort of step it up from where they're at. But, and Povich, I think there's a lot of room for him to grow as well. So, but overall, in terms of the front office doing something to fix this rotation, I mean, don't count on that at all. They had all off season and didn't do it. So that is really what is standing out, and it is what is going. It really could jeopardize the Orioles in the long run if nothing happens to this rotation and they continue to struggle in the way that they have so far this year. So. Um, I do just want to say I should comment that me not wearing the Orioles shirts right now is not a reflection of my feelings on the Orioles or any sort of wavering support for them. It's more just a matter of circumstance, and when I get things figured out, I will return to wearing the black and orange or the more orange shirts that I wear on the podcast. Yeah, but overall it's just I mean, obviously it's a really long season. 6-9 doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel good even. But obviously there is a long way to go. This team will probably figure it out to a good extent. Frustrating that in this critical and as I said, I mean the Blue Jays are a little up in the air in terms of how good they can be this year. They're a little bit of a mystery, but it wouldn't be surprising if they were in contention for the playoffs. So it does hurt a little bit that the Orioles just didn't get a win, but also a win against a division rival. And also, when you don't get a win against a division rival, it's like in terms of like the games back sort of thing, that sort of game, it's more damaging than if you lose to the Arizona Diamondbacks, for instance, because in that situation, there's a potential that the Blue Jays lose their game. So, in any case, yeah, tough start for the Orioles. We have Jackie Robinson Day coming up for the first game the Orioles play against the Guardians. Yeah, and overall, we got to keep reminding ourselves that it is still early, even though this has not been an exciting start to the year at all for the Orioles, and I think that's clear. So, um, trying to think if there was any other sort of last minute notes I had before getting out of here. But I don't think so. And I think that'll wrap it up. I guess for anybody celebrating holidays, happy holidays. Of course, it's Easter coming up, Passover is happening as well. So yeah, happy holidays to those people. that are celebrating. And yeah, in any case, thank you all so much. Make sure to follow the show. Feel free to give us a 5-star rating and review. We have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah, that's where on YouTube the white shirt rather than the orange would be noticeable. I guess on the podcast that would not be observed. But on YouTube, feel free to comment with any thoughts, analysis, disagreements that you have. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com. And if you want to follow us on Instagram and on Twitter, @thewarehousepod. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope the O's can turn it around against the Guardians. This has been the Warehouse Podcast. My name is Jesse, and go O's.